up next, we have another very important and insightful conversation with our regular guest right here on Sunday Breakfast, Dr. Kausum Zakaria Adam, who's a public health advocate and also the National Coordinator for Young Medical Women International Association of Medical Women Association of Ghana. Exactly. Doc, welcome to Sunday Breakfast.
Thank you.
I mean, I really never get enough of your portfolio, right? So, National Coordinator for Young Medical Women International Association of Ghana, of Medical Women Association of Ghana.
Yeah, you
like
got it
like
right.
Bernard and Sky say on the morning show. You're a big woman. Doc, welcome.
Thank you.
We understand we are discussing bad breath.
Yes.
Why bad breath?
Bad breath. Basically because of the multifaceted role that it plays in society. And the fact that there are a lot of people who are afflicted by bad breath. In medical terms, you would call it halitosis.
Halitosis.
Yes.
Charlie, what the name?
Where a lot of people come in because we are social people. We are people who have interpersonal relationships with our kids, with our spouses, with our family members.
True.
And sometimes it becomes a little bit of a problem if really there is halitosis. So we have different types of it, which we'll delve into it as the conversation actually rolls. So bad breath basically is when you have a noticeably unpleasant odor. So a noticeably unpleasant odor that people, maybe a third party, can actually tell you that, yes, I feel that anytime you talk or anytime we have any interactions, there's some odor within your breath when you exhale or when you speak to me. And I think you need to have it checked. Yes, so basically bad breath is that, because I'm sure a lot of us will see that, I mean, anytime you wake up in the morning, there's some bad breath. Yes, and that is physiological. So when we say bad breath, we have basically 3 different types of bad breath. We have the true bad breath or true halitosis. Then we have pseudo-halitosis. Pseudo-halitosis is like false halitosis.
Yes,
and then we have halitophobia, which is more of a psychological thing. Exactly. So true halitosis, it's divided into 2. So you have the physiological one, which we all have early mornings, or sometimes even when you stay too long without hydrating yourself, or when you have covered your mouth for a very long period, you tend to have that physiologic halitosis, which is normal. And then we have the pathologic true halitosis. So the pathologic true halitosis is usually what people come in with to seek medical help. And then we have the false halitosis. So in such cases, these patients usually do not have it. Nobody, or there isn't a third person has not confirmed that they have it, but they have this perception that they have halitosis. And they may have undergone certain tests which cleared them that they do not have it, but they still do think that they have halitosis.
Then again, because of the cultural roles and issues, like you earlier said in your introduction.
So in such cases, you would have to engage the psychologists in such cases. And then also maybe just go through the routine oral hygiene instructions and all of that, just to be able to calm them down. And then you have the halitophobia, which is a persistent delusional stance that I do have halitosis. And in such people, they may have had it before and have been treated
and it's done.
But they still think that they do have bad breath.
Look, and I'll come in shortly, but just to be clear, so the physiology is what happens because we are humans, right?
Yes.
Then the pseudo is It's mind, really.
Yes.
It's your mind just playing.
So you think nobody has, a third person hasn't confirmed that you have halitosis, but you think that.
And with the pseudo, it can be there or not there.
Yes. No. So for the pseudo, most of the time you have undergone the objective testing and you've been cleared that you don't have it.
You don't have it. So that's
but
false.
Yes, that's false.
Interesting. And
yes,
with
then the halitophobia.
Halitophobia.
Yes, because you've had it before, you've been treated, cleared, but you still have this persistent delusional stance that you still do have it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that means that the last two, do they need psychological help?
Exactly. Yeah. You got it right.
But you see, most people don't even know that they have it.
Yeah.
And people around them are probably too scared to tell them. Is there a way that you can know or tell that you have it?
Okay. So what you can usually do is you can smell your breath. That's one. But if I start telling people to smell their breath, then everybody is going to say that I have halitosis. But there is actually a standardized way of, having checked to check that you have halitosis or no. So there's something we call the organoleptic scoring system, where a trained examiner tries to smell your breath and scores it on a standard or a standardized scoring system. So we have 0 all the way to 5. So 0, nothing perceptible. Then you have 1 slight perception. Then all the way moderate, severe, and then a little more severe than the severe one, which will give you the 5. So it depends. So the trained examiner is going to be at about 1 foot away from the patient. And then they are going to smell their breath. They are going to smell their breath. So they are going to smell the nose, the breath that comes from the nose. And then they're also going to smell the breath that comes from the mouth. So you are going to have to hold your breath for about a minute. And then after that, you exhale. When you exhale, the examiner will then smell the breath and score it.
Wow. How much are these examiners paying? Because my word.
They are mortuary workers, so that's so
yeah.
able to do.
Yeah.
Doc,
and then you score it. So that's a subjective way, but it's very easy to do.
Wow.
So you can easily do that and then score. But there's an objective way, a much more objective way of doing it, where you use a portable device, which is called the halimeter, where that portable device, the patient is giving a mouthpiece to exhale through it or breathe through it. Now, breathing through it, you would be able to, it works by chromatography, where it's able to pick up the substances or the gases that tend to give you the halitosis. So usually we say these gases are called the volatile sulfur compounds. So it's able to pick up these volatile sulfur compounds and then give you an objective reading.
Interesting.
For you to be able to tell really if the person has it.
What are the common causes of, halitosis?
Okay. So causes of halitosis is very important because it helps us to know and then be able to do things to avert them. So I'll start with the oral causes. So the oral causes have to do with poor oral hygiene. So poor oral hygiene, you having a plaque score, or you having plaque or dirt around your teeth, and then also around the gums, keeping them and having bacteria there as well. These bacteria, sometimes if you have high levels of these bacteria that produce some of these volatile sulfur compounds after it has actually fed on the remnant of food within your mouth, you tend to have halitosis. Also, it could be that coating of the tongue. A lot of people brush their tongue, clean their mouth, but leave the tongue. And then once you have a lot of coating over a period, that can also manifest as halitosis. And then you can also talk about the other people who have prosthesis within their mouth. Removable prosthesis that they are not taking good care of.
Are you talking about braces and...
No, removable prosthesis could be the the dentures.
Okay.
So some people have dentures within their mouth. They've lost some teeth, and then they have put in some dentures just to be able to restore some function. But there are specific instructions as to how to keep these prostheses. You're supposed to take them out of your mouth before you go to bed, and then when you wake up in the morning, there are specific instructions how to clean them and then how to use it. But people do not follow these instructions, and then they tend to have these prostheses in their mouth throughout, and it harbors bacteria, it harbors remnants of food, and then eventually they tend to have halitosis. So these are the common causes that is in the mouth. But there are other causes. When you have infections within your sinuses, spaces within the head, that can also manifest as halitosis. People who often have cold, chronic sinusitis can tend to have halitosis. It could actually come from the stomach, yes, as well. It can come from the liver, you know, so usually when it comes from the liver, but such people will tend to be sick, very sick. So if it comes from the liver, you tend to have this fishy breath. And then people who have uncontrolled diabetes. So uncontrolled diabetes can also tend to give you this ketogenic breath. It's like a fruity smell, which is uncomfortable. Or it can be from the kidneys as well. But at least majority of it is from the mouth. So anytime somebody comes and complains about bad breath or halitosis, you would want to thoroughly examine the mouth, rule out any oral causes before you can move to the other systems and then look at them as and when. And then it could also be from the food that we eat. There are certain types of foods that when we eat, and they contain a lot of volatile sulfur compounds, like onions, like garlics, you know. I mean, I know there are people who are garlic lovers and then onion lovers. Yes, and you can have them, but yes, exactly. And then certain vegetables as well, like cabbage and all of that. When they are broken down, they tend to release these volatile sulfur compounds that are exhaled within the lungs. So you tend to have the bad breath.
Well, you've spoken about the tests and how to ascertain it and all of that. But for that one skeptic really who has had more money and it's like clearly a one-off thing, but it still plays in their mind. Maybe see a psychologist, I'm not sure about that. But how do you differentiate as to whether it's just a one-off thing as a result of something you've consumed or it's actual halitosis?
Halitosis, okay. So halitosis should be persistent. And then there should be a third person who should tell you that, oh, I think that. So there are people who come to you that, oh, I think that I have bad breath. Then you start digging into their history. You ask, why do you think you have bad breath? Then the person says that, oh, I think when I wake up early in the morning, I don't like the smell in my mouth. Then you know where the person is. Even though you would do some objective tests to rule it out, but you'll be able to tell that, okay, this person is talking about physiologic halitosis. There are others, and you delve a little more. Has anybody told you that when you speak, they tend to have this unpleasant smell? Then they go like, no. Or others will tell you that, yes, I do. There are times that even when I'm talking to somebody and then the person is rubbing his or her finger around, I think that I have halitosis. There are people who will tell you this. And most of the time, there are those who are very self-conscious. And they are the people who are within the spectrum of the halitophobia or the pseudo-halitosis. They haven't been told directly, but then they feel that the actions of people around them are making them feel that they do have halitosis. You get it? And then there are times to that, so it has to be persistent. That's one. And anytime you come in, you would have to be examined properly with all of these tests, and then you would be told whether you have halitosis or not. All of us do take some of these garlics and then, onions and cabbages and all of that, but it's not persistent. If it's persistent to the extent that a third person tells you, then you need to have it checked. Yes.
Could having halitosis be a sign that you probably have something serious like tonsillitis?
Yes.
Or,
Thank you for bringing this in. Yes, tonsil stones. Tonsil stones are also one of the culprits in actually giving you halitosis, yes. So people who tend to have very huge tonsils, particularly the palatine tonsils, they are behind the mouth or behind the tongue in the oropharynx. When they have these stones, they have very foul smelly. So when you come in, you are examined thoroughly, especially even the back of your mouth, to ascertain if you do have tonsil stones, and then you would be appropriately managed. But most of the time, your tonsils tend to regress as you grow. So you have younger ones having larger tonsils. As you are growing, it tends to shrink and all of that. But there are people who have persistent, hypertrophied or large, enlarged tonsils that tend to have these inflammations as and when. And sometimes it even has to do with the food that you eat. So you're eating something that doesn't go well with your body, and then the tonsils pick them up, and then they tend to form these stones. And these stones have very foul smelling
Doc,
odors.
some quick questions from our viewers. Daniel from Nungwa wants to find out, is halitosis common among adults or children can experience it? And also Halifax in Kumasi says, please ask Doc whether the mouth spray is a healthy way of dealing with bad breath. I've seen people use the minty mouth.
Yeah. I've seen all that.
So you can segue then into other treatment methods for us.
Okay, so I'll start with the halitosis. Whether it's
common
more
among
common, yes,
adults or children.
it will definitely be common among adults. And then there are times that some young ones too may have halitosis, but you need to re-emphasize correct cleaning methods.
Okay.
Because most of us do not know the correct cleaning methods. It doesn't have to do with the numbers, the number of times that you brush. It has to do with how effective the brushing is done.
Yes, I feel you.
Okay, and the effectivity of it has to do with the fact that you should be able to remove the plaque that forms around the teeth and around the oral tissues. And that has to be done in a particular fashion. So if you are brushing, there are different ways of brushing. So you have to brush the outer surfaces, then you go inside and then brush the inner surfaces. Then you go on to brush the tongue. So the outer surfaces, in order to reduce the distraction, you need to brush in a circular fashion. So you start from one corner and then end at the other corner in a circular fashion. We don't want the up and downs. We don't want the horizontals.
Circular.
The up and down would give you some distractions in the sense that to push your gums away over a long period and can give you other pathologies which we are not discussing today. And then the horizontal can also lead to some cervical abrasions, and eventually you may end up with hypersensitivity, where anytime you take in any cold or warm foods. Yes. And then you need to open your mouth wide and then clean the tongue in the outward unidirectional fashion. So outward, and then you start from the inside and then bring it out. Okay, so that has to be, and there are other cleaning aids that you can use, like the tongue scrapers that you can get and then use so that you do not leave coats of debris, food over a very long time, which can undergo some putrefaction and then give you these bad odors.
So I get that it's not the frequency that matters, right?
Yes,
it's
so
the
how
effectiveness.
effective
but at the
clean,
time,
but at least, and then the time duration, at least spend about 2 minutes brushing. People do 30 seconds and they are out.
Because we're in a hurry.
Yes, yes. So I always say that I understand. We are in a hurry in the mornings, but in the evenings, at least you have a lot of time. So you can spend some time and do your 2 minutes brushing so that you can effectively reduce the plaque that accumulates. Because if you do not take out the plaque effectively, it moves on to become calculus. It moves on to become this hardened particles around the teeth that you can't remove, that you can't clean with your regular brushing. But you have to have professional cleaning done, which is called the scaling and the polishing.
There's a question here for you from Kukwa. She's in Spintech. She's asking you to give us some natural ways of dealing with bad breath because she was told that charcoal helps.
Okay. All right. So maybe there was a last question here
so,
that
had to do with mouth spray.
Okay, yes. So mouth spray. So yes, the mouth spray, what it does is that it just gives you a quick, freshened breath.
Okay.
Yes, but it's not, it doesn't treat the root cause of the halitosis. So if you do have the root cause, there are treatment modalities
So you say
that we
it's
use.
a temporary...
Yes, so just temporarily to give you a fresh breath, just like you even chewing on a minty gum is the same way. Okay, but then if you really do have halitosis, it has to be diagnosed and treated. It has to be classified as I classified it and be diagnosed and be treated effectively based on whichever one that you have. So maybe I should just say the treatment modalities associated with it. So if you do have true halitosis, as I said, majority of it is from the mouth. So the cleaning, you'll be taught how to effectively clean, and then you would have professional, a scheduled professional cleaning done every 6 months, where that is done, and then you'll be taught how to floss in between your teeth. Most of the time, people don't floss in between their teeth. And I always say that if you do not floss, it means that it can be likened to you going to the washroom and then showering, but then leaving your armpits. So you can imagine.
So that was really the point, right?
Exactly.
Because that's where all the sweat will probably even accumulate.
So you need to be able to, because the bristles of the brush sometimes it's unable to penetrate in between the teeth, and that is where you have some of the plaque.
The analogy is doing things to my head.
Yes,
Spot on.
exactly.
Spot
So
on.
you need to be able to do that. And then after that, you'll be examined if it has to do with your tonsils, and then given the appropriate treatments for that as well. And then you would be put on a planned follow-up where you would come back, and then the test will be repeated to see if your score has dipped or it has improved. If it has, then you will still be put on that planned follow-up. Or if after 3 months it's still persistent, then you have to look elsewhere. So you look at the sinuses, if you have chronic cough, chronic cold most of the time, and then you can also look at the other parts of the body, your liver,
so it's curable.
all of that. Yes, it's
So the good news is that it's curable.
It's very curable. Yes.
Wow. So, Doc, thank you so much, right?
All right, and then the question about
the final one.
Yes,
Yeah,
the charcoal. Yes, so charcoal is an abrasive material. What it does is that it helps reduce stains within your teeth, but it has nothing to do with the odor that comes out, because the odor, as I said, is volatile sulfur compounds, which would mean that those are exhaled gases that have these odors that tend to give you the halitosis. But the house remedies still has to go down towards your personal hygiene, where you have to make sure that you are brushing twice, and then effectively brushing the right way effectively, and then you are flossing in between your teeth, and then you are also having your regular checks and having your 6 monthly appointments, and then your cleanings. And also hydration, very important. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Because the saliva in itself, when it dries up, it tends to have an odor. And people may tend to mistaken that for halitosis. So you need to hydrate as much as possible. At least have 3 liters of water a day. I think that should help flush out the remnants of the food, as well as also keep your mucous membranes well hydrated, so that you don't end up with halitosis.
Look, time is far gone, but just briefly, with the charcoal, like how is it applied? Do you just chew it, or you just...
No, so the charcoal usually, even now our sophisticated dentrifices do have some charcoal there. So it's an activator. So it's not the regular, well, when you go to the villages, people use the raw charcoals. But what they do is that they use it with plantain, the head of the stem from the plantain. Yes, so once they crush, they're able to use it. But again, effectiveness, how you brush effective, and then also how you are able to use the quantities that you're supposed to use, so that you don't use the quantities.
Doc, thank you so much for that insight and that really elaborate explanation into halitosis, right? I'm sure we've all learned something new today.
Yeah.
Great. So viewers, there you have it, Dr. Kalsum Zakaria Adam, who's a public health advocate and really doing a lot within the space, including helping us understand very complex health-related topics, right? I like how she simplifies very complex issues, so we're able to get it. So, Doc, so grateful for your time.